It's Doug Cunnington here. This is the Doug Show Live, and I blog over at nichesiteproject.com. We're going to talk a little about affiliate marketing today. I'm going to tell you about, well, what else do we got going on? We have, oh, I'm listening. I'm listening here, and I hear that it's working. Gotta turn, where's that window? It's always fun when it starts real clunky like this. Always fun. Okay, I did confirm that the sound works, so welcome everyone. Let me know how you're doing today. Valin, what's going on? Student over at Five Figure Niche Site, one of my courses. And we got Paul on. Let me know where you're from. So if this is your first time on one of these live streams, that's awesome. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Basically, we're going to talk about a handful of different things. We used to do these where it was just like random Q&A, and we ended up just getting all the same questions over and over again. So I created an FAQ page. So if you go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ, then you will see many common questions out there. I will answer some questions at the end though. So that'll be good. And if it happens to be like a relevant question to the thing that I'm talking about at the time, I will probably answer it. But if it's a rando question, then I may hold it to the end just so we have some momentum about the things that we're going to be talking about. All right, so we got Jason on. What is up? And We Entertainment Hindi. It is fun. I find it pretty hilarious that people have different brands that they have on YouTube, like We Entertainment Hindi, and instead of like their actual name, which is totally fine. Totally fine. But when I see the comments out there, it does look pretty funny. We got Chunky Moose, Hasta La Vista. That's Adrian. Adrian's been on the channel several times. Derek, what's going on? And we have Before Buy says some kind of weird stuff here that's unrelated to anything that I'm talking about. So a couple things we're gonna talk about today. Gonna mention Ezoic. And there's some things going on in the world, right? A lot of conferences are getting canceled. So I was scheduled to speak at, or I am scheduled to speak at Pubtelligence in New York City, April 3rd. That is a Friday. And it's a free to attend event. However, you have to apply and you need to be accepted. As far as I know, it is still going on at this time. However, many conferences, and I know a lot of people that they were planning on going to large conferences, small conferences, many different cities, they are being canceled. So I'm trying to check with the folks out there at Ezoic to see what's going on. We're going to talk about Toastmasters. There's a contest. Hold on, let me give you separate thoughts. I went to a Toastmasters meeting. I'm going to talk about that. There is a contest for a site giveaway. There's a link in the description. There are links in all the links I'm going to talk about. They're in the description there. So if you want to check it out, they're giving away over at Motion Invest. They're giving away one site. It's making $200 per month. There are many other things that they're giving away too. So you can check that out. We're going to talk about writing content a little bit, and I'm going to show a few highlights, and I'm going to answer a few questions. I want to note that Ezoic is a partial underwriter for this show. So they sponsored the show a little bit. So I want to give a shout out to the crew at Ezoic, of course, and the Site Speed Accelerator. I recently experimented with the Site Speed Accelerator on a site that basically was not optimized at all. It was terrible. It got in the high 20s to about 30 in the Google Page Insights score. And I implemented the Site Speed Accelerator free trial just to test it out to see how it would work. And it went up to like 98, 99. Check out the video. It's pretty convincing. So if your score is struggling and you don't know what to do, you're trying to optimize it, you're trying to put different plugins, and you're getting these instructions from the Page Speed Insights from Google, and it's telling you to load scripts in an asynchronous way and do this and do that. It will take care of all of that for you. Site Speed Accelerator, so do check it out. Free 7-day trial so you can see if it works for your site. And if not, I'd actually be surprised. But if it doesn't, then you can contact their support team and they'll be able to help you out and set things up properly. All right. And we have Satim, what's going on? Andreas from Cyprus, or I think I'm pronouncing that right. Andreas, yep. And then Mike. Mike is on. Good to see you, buddy. And Amin and Kashif. Anna is, it's Alex, but he uses Anna Paula's login there. So they must share it. Okay. So in preparation for the potential talk that I was going to do, that I need to make sure I use the proper tense, Pubtelligence, I was preparing for a talk and I have not done any like big speaking gigs at all. Pubtelligence is a relatively like intimate type of a show, an intimate type of conference. So there's only 100, 150 people, something like that. But that's big for me. That's a pretty big crowd. I've actually never been on a big stage or anything like that. So I was a little scared and nervous. Toastmasters is an international organization. I think it's called Toastmasters International. And there are meetings all over the place. And I'd be shocked if you didn't find several of the clubs meeting very close to where you live or work or something like that. I heard about Toastmasters way back, probably in college. I think there were a couple professors in my senior courses that were sort of like prepping us to go out into the world. And they were like, you have to do some public speaking. It's a really good skill to have. You should go to Toastmasters if you're able to. It's relatively inexpensive. You can usually attend as a guest for basically as long as you want. For a lot of the clubs, you could attend as a guest. You don't have to pay anything, and you can see how it runs. They may let you speak on some of the smaller things that they do, but around here, I think there are at least like 5 or 6 different clubs that meet throughout the week, in the middle of the day, weekends, afternoons, like whatever your availability, there's probably a club that meets at that time. A lot of them are associated with a particular company, but they're often open to the public. So there's a couple like tech companies around here, and they have Toastmasters clubs that meet in their building, just in a conference room, but it's open to the public and it's beneficial for everyone that goes. So I went to a meeting on Wednesday so I could get used to speaking and hopefully improve some of my techniques and stuff like that. And it was awesome. It was a good group. And I think each different club probably has a different character based on the people that are in the club and how energetic they are or not energetic or whatever. But it's all very supportive, pretty fun overall, and you don't have to be nervous to get up there and speak because everyone's trying to improve. Again, very supportive. That said, you still would get nervous to go and give a speech. So I showed up for the meeting. It's only a few miles from here, just very convenient for me to get to. And there are a couple speeches that are 5 to 7 minutes, and you kind of have to sign up for those ahead of time. But they do have what I think they call them table topics, and it's a 1 to 2 minute speech, ad hoc. You pick a number, at least the way we did it in my meeting. You pick a number, and they ask a question, and then you think about it for however long you need, and then you have 1 to 2 minutes to talk about it. So I wanted to speak at the first meeting, so I did one of those. My question was, what scared you in childhood, or a very scary moment or incident in childhood? I couldn't think of anything really, so I ended up talking about public speaking and how that's scary, and just talked about whatever I want, kind of like a politician. I had my own agenda. It didn't matter what the question was. I was going to talk about myself and talk about what I do. So I ended up doing that. It was fine. One of the things I'm trying to really clean up is filler words and different, I guess, like verbal tics. You would call them verbal tics. And I know way back, if you listen to some of my early YouTube videos, it's kind of it was a wreck. especially if I didn't know what I was going to say. I think probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've already improved a lot. The thing that you have to do when you use those filler words is just pause. You don't have to keep talking the whole time. You could just pause. I think it's hard. People get used to it. And if you're in front of people, you may freak out. You don't know what to say. Your mind wanders. And then the next thing you know, you're saying and ah. And I used to say all the time, trying to really cut down on that. That was a crutch. Anyway, so I'm trying to really improve on that stuff. I will be joining the club. And I actually had a friend back in Bozeman, and I think he was a project manager for some company. He wasn't a PMP, but he was a project manager, and he was trying to, shift how his life was going basically. And he quit his job, and he wanted to get better at speaking and do a YouTube channel. So he joined every single Toastmasters club in Bozeman and went, I think, 5 to 7 days a week. I don't know how many there were, but he went at least 5 days a week and really, really improved on his speaking. It was absolutely amazing. I don't know any other way to do it than go in and train and work on the skill. It was really amazing. So hopping back over to the chat, we have Anise and Dan, Edward, Jeremy, what's up? Derek mentions that Toastmasters is very affordable. Yeah, super affordable. They were telling me the pricing, and I was like, this is alarmingly cheap. I can't remember, but I know it's listed on the website there. All right. And Alex is asking about tips on how to find ideas for creating content. Sure, I will talk about that coming up in a little bit here. Chris is turning up late, although you're not too late. Some people show up really, really late. And breakfast with Doug. Where are you located, Chris? You're saying it's breakfast there, so you must be in Alaska or Hawaii or something like that, if you're out that way. Okay, so Toastmasters was good. I would encourage you to go to a meeting before you get invited somewhere to speak. Go to a meeting, get used to it, and I think it'll be amazing overall just to be able to speak without getting nervous, especially, it doesn't happen often, but let's say you go to a dinner or something like that, and no one knows you. You have to do a little intro, and maybe you only have to talk for like 30 seconds or so, but it's all new people. I know whenever I was back at the corporate job, you get put on a new project. A lot of people are traveling. You go to the big sort of kickoff dinner, and you end up sitting at a big table. Maybe there's 25 people there. You have to do an intro, say what you're working on. And I remember I would get nervous. My hands would probably sweat, and I never froze up. I know some people actually really freak out. They really, really freak out, and they may not be able to speak. They may just freeze up and start crying or something like that. It would be a little unusual in such a setting. Usually consultants are kind of, I don't know, they're kind of type A most of the time. But I did observe one of those, I guess it would be called, it was sort of a pitch contest situation. So there were a lot of entrepreneurs giving their talks, and I know a couple people really froze up. They lost control of what they were talking about, and it was kind of unusual. I was a little bit surprised. And then there's a particular person that I'm thinking of, and I know that they are quite talkative, and they are prone to interrupt people in the normal course of a conversation. And I was very surprised. I was actually very surprised that the person was nervous to do a talk, even though they're very happy to interrupt people. Anyway, I think I'm ranting and complaining a little bit on that one, but basically go to Toastmasters, check it out, get over the fear of speaking. I wish I would have gone many, many years ago. If I would have gone back, I remember there were meetings back when I worked at, it was Bell South. So it used to be AT&T. I know A lot of people in the Southeast will remember Bell South, but I worked there in a couple of the offices. There were always Toastmasters meetings going on in the morning. A lot of times it was before work started, but that would have been a really smart thing to do. Quick note, I know we have a few new people on, maybe some people that are not subscribers to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. I usually don't give a shout out for that, but really appreciate it if you do subscribe. Hopefully you enjoy the videos and find them helpful. And Chris says he's in the Vancouver. He or she is in the Vancouver area. I don't know. That's a versatile name. Ellis, what's going on? We got Wasim and software and games free. What's going on? Edward is driving from France to Belgium tomorrow. What's the popular beer from the monastery called? You'd love to give it a try. Cool. Edward. So there's a shitload of popular beers, but the very rare one that you're probably thinking of is called West Vleteren. Yep, Valen mentioned it there. It's West Vleteren, and if you can, you should check it out. But there are several other Trappist monasteries, or you don't have to go to a Trappist one. You can go to an abbey. St. Bernardist is fantastic. I think they are located very close to each other. In fact, I bet all of them are pretty close to each other, relatively speaking. Grandson, what's up? And yeah, check out West Vleteren. Beer's really good, and you can only get it there unless you have a hookup. Andy, what's happening from St. Lucia? And let's see here. Let's move on. And I mentioned it earlier, but I know people hop on at different times. So this is kind of an agenda. So we're going to follow along with a few things that I want to talk about. If you're asking questions, there's an FAQ page on nichesiteproject.com. And there are a few things we will talk about. I will answer some questions at the end if they are good questions. If you are asking a not very refined question, I will just skip it. There's some fine people in the chat that will probably help you refine your question, but it's really hard for me to answer sort of an open-ended, very, very broad question in an effective way that is actually helpful. So just want to note that. And if you ask more than once, I will just kick you out. So I have a very low tolerance for people that spam and kind of make the chat inconvenient. So I will only say it once. All right. Cool. Let's move on to the next thing. What else is in our bucket here? So we have the contest with Motion Invest. So I can't remember when the big site is going to be the drawing is going to be held for the big site, but they're giving away a site that is making $200 per month. And a few people were asking me, hey, what's the deal with the site? What is it? Why is it being given away? They're trying to, build their email list. Basically, I don't know anything about the site. I don't own the site. I'm not associated with Motion Invest. I am an affiliate for Motion Invest, like many of the products that I'm mentioning today. But I do know personally the few people that run Motion Invest, Spencer Hawes over at Niche Pursuits and John over at Authority Website Income. So I've known them for years, since I got started online back in 2013. So if you're interested in checking it out, it's not a broker, right? Motion Invest is not a broker. It is more like a marketplace. So I believe the business model in a general sense is they purchase sites and then they improve them. I don't know exactly what they do. And then they sell them later. So the cool part is if you're selling a site, they could probably buy it really quickly. You don't have to go through the motions of due diligence from a broker. And typically you could make the deal quick. You can make the deal quick and they'll get the site. So that is one of the huge benefits. And the other is you don't have to pay a broker's fee if you're selling, which is typically 10 to 15%, something like that. So check it out. And they're just giving away that site. They're giving away a few other things too. I believe there are potentially weekly drawings. So there's a link in the description if you're interested in that contest for the site that's worth about $6,000. Pretty big contest. All right. So moving on to writing content. And I want to mention a couple things. So yesterday I published an interview with Morton Storgaard. Very popular interview. It kind of blew up. I wasn't necessarily surprised that it was a popular video, but I'm surprised how many people have watched it already and the very sticky nature of the people that watched. So I can see a lot of stats over here on YouTube, and people watch a lot of the video. People watch a whole lot of the video. If you did not check it out and you're interested in writing content or having content written for you, then you probably will be very interested. I think one of the reasons people watch the video is it's a pretty catchy thumbnail. So 177 articles published in 8 months, and 100% of it was outsourced. So that is pretty cool. That's a lot of content in 8 months. Basically, Morton hired a team of writers, and he spent a lot of time like finding the writers and training them and finding the ones that he wanted to work with. So he has a team of writers, and I believe he mentions that he spent about $9,000 on the content. So a lot of details within the actual interview. So you should definitely check it out. He has a YouTube channel as well, and he is starting to grow it and publish more videos. So you should check that out. I think I put a link in the description for that. But yeah, keep an eye out for Morton out there. And basically, this video, or at least the thumbnail, was mostly about content. So I knew, hey, people are listening and they want to know more about content. And I know that Alex mentions, let me find it, give tips on how to find ideas for creating content. Okay, so if you don't know what to write about, then there's several ways to approach it. So number one, I would do some keyword research. So Alex, I know you already know that. So can you ask some follow-up questions that are a little bit more detailed? Like, what are you really struggling with? So you should probably do some keyword research. You can go to free tools like Uber suggests. I highly recommend that you go and use a paid tool to save a little time, potentially get more data aggregated from different areas. And if you're paying for a service, it potentially is going to work a little bit faster, have more features, and basically be easier to use. You don't have to use, a paid tool constantly. So if your budget is not very big and you can't pay 40 or 50 bucks a month for a keyword research tool, that's okay. Maybe you just get it for 1 to 2 months while you're doing keyword research. There's a couple ways that you can approach it. One, you could put in sort of like seed keywords, and then you'll have hundreds of recommendations of other keywords that are related to it. You can sort them by keyword difficulty. If you like that stat, you could sort them by the search volume if you like that. You can look at all the how-to type keywords if you're looking for informational, or you could look for product keywords and filter for best. So there's a lot of different ways that you could approach and figure out like, hey, these are great keywords, I want to publish those. So that's how you get, some topics just doing pure keyword research. Additionally, I would highly recommend a tool like KWFinder or SEMrush will allow you to put in a domain name and see what keywords that site is ranking for. Then you could do some competition analysis and figure out they're ranking for some keywords. Maybe they're not well optimized for that keyword, but they're still ranking for it anyway. If you target that keyword and actually try to rank for it, there's a good chance you'll be able to outrank them. I did a whole video using SEMrush, the whole thing that I just mentioned. I go through, I tell you what filters I use. I give you a few tips on using SEMrush in general. It's in the KGR, the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass. Very straightforward. It is a paid tool, but when you see what you can do, it's a very good time saver. So highly recommended for that. Gustavo's on, what's up? And Mark, how's it going? Ella says, you'd like to present me with our kinetic wall sculpture. I'm not 100% sure what that means. Can you expand on that? Thanks for presenting me with anything. That is fantastic. And Gustavo, Mark from Lawrenceville, my old hometown. All right, cool. So we got a couple clips too. So that's another thing we do in these sessions is play clips. It's pretty nice because I'm able to take a little break here. Let me see what kind of clips we have going on. Since I was talking about Morton, I was talking about content. Why don't we hop over to, okay, this is great. So we got Alex Cooper from WP Eagle talking about content on Roofbox. The really cool thing is that I interviewed Alex. I'm going to be publishing it coming up soon in a couple weeks here. And we talk about bestroofbox.com, which is his public case study. You should definitely check it out. I've linked to Alex's channel in the show notes or description or whatever we call it here. So here is Alex talking about content over on Best Roofbox.
Okay, we're up to about 85. I've got a few more in the queue at the moment. They're just being edited and being written and whatever. I'm trying to add maybe 5 every couple of weeks, something like that. It really depends on my workload and how quickly my writers can get stuff over to me. I've got a big list of stuff that I want written. It's just a case of getting it written and getting it edited. I only have one editor at the moment and one writer, so it's a bit slow. But yeah, just regularly putting the content out. I mean, I've got the ambition of maybe getting it up to 200, 300, 400 articles. I don't know, as big as I possibly can. As I said, there is limitless, really, ideas in terms of the content that I can produce around roof boxes.
Very good. And it sounds like most of them are sort of product focused. Do you know the percentage of like product versus informational type content?
I'd say it's probably at least 85% product focused.
Okay.
Cool. There are a few articles that aren't roof boxes reduced. Aren't roof box focused, but I'm just trying to see if any of them are performing well in my analytics. Not really, no. They are generally all product focused. They're buyer's guides, I'd say.
How long are most of the buyer's guides?
They're between 1,000 and 2,000 words, something like that.
Okay. And have you experimented with like shorter content under 1,000 or very long content, maybe over 3,000 words? Just curious.
Yeah, I've got a few that are short, maybe 500-600 words. I've not got a couple of them. Not got more than a couple of them. I've got a couple of long ones. I did a big guide on Thule, which is a big manufacturer of roof boxes. That seems to be doing okay, so I called that the ultimate guide to the Thule roof boxes, because I noticed there are a lot of questions in Google all around Thule, like are they waterproof? How do they make them? How do you pronounce Thule? All those. Was it Thule or Thule? I don't know. So I thought I'd package all those questions together into one article and call it the ultimate guide. But yeah. That's like 14th on my list of content that's pulling in traffic. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's worth always investing in these longer articles. I don't know. I'm still kind of finding my feet, I guess.
Sure. And then, well, you sort of described like that particular ultimate guide. It sounded like you just did research on the questions and then answered those. Is that usually how you format such a guide, or was it that a one-off case?
That's normally how I'd approach it. Yeah, I'd see a lot of questions around a particular theme, and then I'd just use that as the subheadings within an article. So, yeah, I could have had maybe 4 or 5 600-word articles, but I thought in that particular case, I'd just put them all together into one and see what happens. Because I was hoping that quite often you see when people do a search on Google with a question, sometimes it's not the main title of that article that comes up, but there'll be a hot link on Google or a quick link that jumps you straight to that question on that article. And that's what I was kind of hoping to get, that kind of that extra little link that you get on Google where it's got the article, but then it's got, skip straight to the answer to this question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've achieved it on that article. I probably need to look into it a bit more detail. But yeah, It's bringing in some traffic and it seems to be doing the business.
Very good. That was Alex Cooper over at WP Eagle. He's doing this live public case study, which just frightens the shit out of me, to be honest with you. I don't know how he doesn't have like negative SEO and all this, all these copycats coming out. That's my experience. People just kind of try and screw up your public facing things. I don't know why. I don't know why they do it. But anyway, check out his case study. That full interview is going to be coming out in a couple weeks or so. And I will be doing deep teardowns. So basically, Jason mentioned here that the breakdown and review and audit of best roof box is on my channel. And he said it was very informative. People should check it out. So thanks for mentioning that. I'm going to be going deeper. I'm going to be analyzing that site even more. And the cool part, because I used to do these affiliate site teardowns, very popular, and I sort of stopped doing it because it in a way outs the person's site, which is kind of a dick move to do, even though a lot of people just started publishing a bunch of that stuff out there. But people make money from it, and when you publicize it, copycats do come out, people hit it with negative SEO, and it's just a bit of a problem, in my opinion. However, there are some bold individuals like Alex, Matt Giovanisi, and a few others, Spencer Hawes over at Niche Pursuits. They have public case studies where they worked on the site, or maybe they've been publishing and talking about it from the very beginning. Again, bananas to me, but I'm going to be going deep into a lot of different analysis. I'm going to look at them in different ways, and I'm going to tear them down. I checked with the guys and gals beforehand, so I don't impact them. And generally, most people are cool. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Link back to my material, which I was good. I was like, hey, I'm going to link to your stuff. I'll promote you. I'm not going to say anything bad about you or be mean. Just going to analyze the stuff from that standpoint. All right. And Alex is asking again about creating content. So I already answered that. So you may have missed it. Alex is a friend of the show, so I'm not going to kick him out here. Maybe he just missed the answer. So just rewind it and you should see it. All right. Someone else asked about cannibalization, and I sent a link over for the keyword golden ratio. I do talk about it in that area. So I actually have a video on keyword cannibalization, and basically I would say publish what you want to publish. You could see if there's cannibalization going on, and then you could fix it and consolidate the information, and you should be able to take care of the problem. Alternatively, you could do the opposite. You could bunch all your content together so that you don't have cannibalization, but it is a problem to solve. So you could easily figure out keyword cannibalization. If you don't know what that is, basically it's where you have potentially two similar topics and Google doesn't know which piece of content to rank for a given keyword. Often what happens is both of the pieces of content will rank lower. They'll rank probably right next to each other. It's kind of weird. So for example, if you publish a piece of content and it's ranking, say, number 2 for quite some time, and then you publish another and it's very similar, they both may drop down to 7 and 8, which is way less traffic. Even though you have 2 positions on the top 10, you'll get way less traffic than if you just have one ranking number 1. So in that case, you would probably consolidate the 2 pieces of content so there's no duplication. Then you can 301 redirect whichever one that you removed and point it towards the new consolidated piece of content, hopefully on the same URL that was ranking well. But you can treat it on a case-by-case basis. All right, moving on. We have some other pretty awesome clips here. So I'm gonna hop over, and we have one from Morton as well. So he did this thing where he kind of messed up all his affiliate links. He deleted some content and he had a bad couple weeks. So this is Morton talking about that. And just a quick reminder, the full interview is available. It has been published. It went live yesterday. So if you go over to my channel, you should be able to see the whole interview with Morton.
Yeah, so at the time I had around 100 articles on the site, and it was doing around, I think, 30 to 40,000 page views per month. And then I just decided to delete half of it because it was so bad, and I figured, well, it's not doing anything for my site, or at least if you think about link flow and all these things, maybe there would be more authority to the other articles. So that was kind of my take on it. And I saw a lot of theories, some saying do it, somebody said don't do it, So I decided to do it. And then immediately I started to throw in a ton of content. So I probably doubled that content over a couple of months. So it's hard to say exactly what made everything turn much faster, because I did a lot of things at the same time. But the whole de-index thing, it was just a horrible mistake on my part, and luckily it got fixed pretty quickly. So the thing I did was that I use a plugin called Pretty Links for all my affiliate links. So so you do these pretty URLs, and then I inserted this little word in the beginning of the slug for every affiliate link to be able to go into Google Analytics and take a good view of all these links. So I could sort of distinguish my affiliate links from all the other ones and see how many people would click those links and so on. And as I did that, I just forgot to update the actual links on the site. It was just totally stupid.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened was that all my affiliate links got broken. I just had like a ton of links pointing to like 404.
Okay.
But it was not like my entire site was out. It was just the internal links that got totally screwed up.
Gotcha. Okay. How long did it take you to figure it out?
Yeah, I think I figured it out after a month.
Okay.
Well, I typically looked at my numbers one time per month at the time, so I was confused about why my affiliate sales just totally dropped.
Gotcha.
Then I went in and tried to click a link, and no, actually it was one of my affiliates, one of the stores that I had a good deal with. He told me that all of a sudden he was getting no links, so he thought maybe I skipped his program. So I went in and looked there, and actually he figured it out for me. So it was kind of embarrassing.
Oh man, that's a bummer. So okay,
Totally.
Quick clarification. So this whole site wasn't like de-indexed in Search Console. It was just all affiliate links were broken, so all revenue went down.
Yeah, and I didn't have any ads at the time, so you can imagine it just went to zero.
Gotcha. Okay. And the other, for people that don't know, the Pretty Link plugin, I use it too, and basically it allows you to just change the URL slug and have a redirect. Like it's an easy way to manage your redirects in a nice plugin format versus like hard coding it in, say, your htaccess file for the technical nerds out there. You don't have to have it, but you get some tracking capabilities, and it's a little bit more sophisticated. It's called Pretty Links. So
yeah, and I also like the way if you have one affiliate link all over the website, you can just update it one place, and then all these places will update. So sort of have this hub where you update your links. I like that, so I don't have to go over hundreds and hundreds of articles.
Oh yeah, totally. Yep. So it's a good plugin as long as you use it right. So
yeah.
All right, cool. Any other cool things that you want to mention about Go Downsize or the YouTube channel or anything like that?
Not really. Other than I think I got lucky with the domain name. Not that it's anything genius, but I'm glad that I didn't call it like tinyhousegeek.com or something like that. So it was pretty broad from the get-go, which I enjoy now, because we're also writing about living on a boat and living in RVs. So we're taking the website in many directions, and that's something I'm doing with all my newer sites. I try to choose a very broad domain name, just so I don't get cornered in one tiny part of a niche. So yeah, so that enabled us to go all over the place, because now it's many years old, and it got links all over the place from huge sites and news sites and so on. So it's just nice to be able to continue building it and not run out of keywords.
Awesome. Yeah, that is insightful. I think I was just chatting with someone earlier today about that exact thing where, don't put a keyword in your domain name, because unless it's extremely broad, it's just painting you in a corner. So
yeah.
All right, that was Morten, and that interview turned out just fucking amazing. I was really impressed. He is new to YouTube, but he's been doing internet marketing for like a decade. So he's been sort of under the radar for a long time. And he's like, all right, I want to teach some people some stuff. So great guy overall, great interview. I'm always so impressed when basically non-native English speakers can hold such a like high level conversation. It is so hard for me to even talk in general, and these other folks can do it in multiple languages. It's absolutely bananas. So anyway, check out his channel. Morton's awesome, really good guy. Please give him a shout over there. Let him know that I sent you over. We got a couple other questions coming through, but I want to talk about my shift a little bit over to the personal finance topic area. So there's a few people that have said, "Yeah, Doug, this is great. They're my friends." So, maybe they're just telling me what I want to hear, but my observation is that personal finance, especially the financial independence movement and community, and affiliate marketers and people that want to make money online, whether it's through drop shipping or even a service based like side hustle business or affiliate marketing or SEO or whatever. We're all interested in time freedom. And I've had conversations with some of the influencer types over on, I guess it was off the record. So a lot of off the record like conversations. So I won't be specific, but basically I've chatted with people and they see it too. They're deep in the personal finance, financial independence movement. I'll say FI from here on out. They're in the FI community and they see it too. They know people want freedom with their time and they don't want to work for another company. They're not necessarily against it, but they just want to have a little more freedom with their time. So I see this like huge parallel, and I have some friends and some other folks who are starting to make some good money. Maybe they're working on their sites on the side and they have the full-time gig like I was doing, and you basically end up with, it's a great problem to have. You end up with more money than like you know what to do with. All right? So you end up with more money, and we're not generally taught what to do with the extra money. If you're not careful, you end up spending whatever you're pulling in. You're not watching those expenses. And I think if we can sort of bring some of these ideas together, a lot of people here can like benefit from understanding some of these just personal finance techniques to understand how much you're spending, where to save money. Right now, I actually don't even pay attention to the markets because I'm a very off, like hands off kind of person. I know it's dropped quite a bit, but it's okay. In fact, that means the stocks are cheaper. And I put in a couple orders. I'm actually buying stuff right now because it dropped. So it could drop some more, but this is long-term stuff. So if some of the things that I'm talking about sound crazy and outlandish, maybe they are a little bit, but it took a long time in a foreclosure and dumb decisions and having debt in the past for me before I feel confident about what I'm doing and essentially saving for the long term. And you could do it in many different ways. Some people love real estate. It's not my bag personally. Just I don't like it. Some people love it. Some people love it. And I got burned early, and I just kind of gravitated away like a flipped magnet. Just gravitated away from real estate in general. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I'm more of a hands-off kind of person. I know you can do really well renting properties. Maybe it could be mostly hands off, but just in general, I prefer just index funds. Much simpler for me because I don't want to spend time with the real estate stuff. All right, Eddie is on. Edward says the Doug Personal Finance Show. So I am interviewing more personal finance folks. So that is one aspect. That was kind of a long explanation, but we're all interested in the same stuff, even though we're coming at it from different angles. Some people are thinking, hey, I want to make more money. Other folks are saying, hey, I want to be frugal. I'm not necessarily frugal in general. There are some things I just don't care about and I don't spend money on, and other things I care a lot about and I spend a lot of money on. So it's just knowing what you want to put your time and resources into versus just ignoring it. So there's no wrong answer, but if you end up going along with, I guess, the crowd, And I know when I had my consulting job, there was a lot of, when I had my consulting job, there was a lot of people that upgraded their cars, upgraded their houses, and just kind of expanded their lifestyle in general. Very common to do. It doesn't bother me if you do that, by the way. There's no wrong or right answer. But for me, it wasn't like making me happier. So we sort of like kept a lid on it and kept it under control. And I think, that's part of the reason why I've been able to save a decent amount of cash. So with that said, if you are unclear about your expenses, we have some tips here about how to figure it out. And you could do this, by the way, for your personal expenses, your business expenses, or whatever. And I was lucky enough to land another, actually, huge podcaster. So we talked to Matt Giovanisi last week. This coming Monday, I have an interview with Mindy Jensen. She is the community manager over at Bigger Pockets. If you know what Bigger Pockets is and you listen to those podcasts, like, you will understand how big of a deal it was for me to, interview her, just like interviewing Matt Giovanisi. These couple people have huge, massive podcasts. I happen to live close by to both of them, and I was able to get interviews in person. So the interview's coming out soon. This is Mindy. This is a highlight clip from Mindy, and we talk about just tracking expenses. And this was before her and her husband, Carl, Mr. 1500, were financially independent. So let me get this rolling for you. And great interview. Another really long form interview, very fun to do. I enjoy the long form so you could really dig into the weeds and talk for a while.
So yes to all of that. We started tracking probably in 2013 with a notebook. It was a notebook opened up to the same sheet right on the countertop as I walked in the house. And it had date, store, category, and dollar amount. And then I think there was like a running total or something. And when I would go to the grocery store, I would write it down. On 2/15, I went to King Soopers and I spent $37.12 and on groceries. And what I noticed right away after that first month was I went to the grocery store every single day because we lived over here and the gym was here, and in between here and the gym were like 7 grocery stores. And, I just need that one thing. Have you ever gone into the grocery store and just gotten that one thing? No, I always stop by the damaged bin. What's over here? What's the dented can today? Oh, I don't need pickled pig's feet, or I can use black beans, or, whatever. So I would go in for one thing and come out with 10, which isn't a big deal once a week or once a month, but every single day, all of a sudden I have all this stuff that I don't really need. And that was the most eye-opening of tracking spending, is just, I need to stop going to the grocery store every day. So I really tried to plan out our meals and not so much budget as just like, this is on sale today. I was going to have beef, but now I'll have chicken because it's cheaper. So I tried to plan out meals and know what I had in the counters or in the cabinet so I could start clearing those out. That was literally the biggest thing for us, was just stop going to the grocery store every single day. And tracking your spending, because once you track it for the first month with no shame and no guilt, and you just, where are you spending your money? You start tracking it and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I go to Starbucks 7 times a day, or I go out to dinner, every Friday and Saturday night. I know I do it, but I don't really pay attention to it. And now I can start seeing, I don't need this. My values aren't what I'm spending my money on. So I'm going to stop going to the grocery store every day. I'm going to make it a point of only going on Mondays, because Saturdays is a disaster, but I'm only going to go on Mondays. And then on Tuesday, if I need something, I'm going to have to make do, or I'm going to have to make something else. And we started making it into a game. How little can I spend? I'm not going to go to the grocery store at all this week. I've got milk and I've got fresh fruit and I don't need anything else. So I'm going to see, can I make it, 10 days without the grocery store? Can I make it 2 weeks without the grocery store? And I'm not up to once a month shopping yet, but we're doing a lot better. And I'm actually back down to going in more frequently, but buying less, being very conscious of what I'm buying at the grocery store. And I don't even walk past the discount bin anymore because that's like a trigger. That's a spending trigger. We now have a thing on our phones. It's a little app. It's a Google form that is our budget. The Waffles on Wednesday group or couple, I guess they're not a group, it's a couple. They wrote an article about how to track your spending. It's a mobile spending tracker. You make a questionnaire on Google Forms and, it's a custom questionnaire, so you can ask whatever you want. And then when you enter it into your phone, it sends it to a spreadsheet. So I don't have to remember if I'm stopping at 7 places. I don't have to remember all the things that I went to and how much I spent. I fill it out right there at the cash register as I'm walking out to my car. And that's been really helpful to track what we're spending and when we're spending because it's so easy to forget an expense. Carl did the math. I think we spent $60,000 last year. We took a couple of vacations. I traveled a lot last year. So this year we're going to aim for $40,000 or less minus house expense, or not including house expenses because we just bought a new house and we're getting ready to rehab it.
Gotcha. Okay. In going back to the sort of beginning of like tracking the spending, obviously there's apps and there's different solutions that are technical you could manage on your phone. I think there's something powerful to write it down in a notebook for some reason. Like I use notebooks and my notes here for our interview, or I wrote them by hand. Like I could have typed them out, but I wrote them by hand. So do you think there's anything, I guess, that was useful by writing it by hand versus using an app, or just because you could have downloaded your credit card or your bank statements and then like categorize the past and you wouldn't have had to go through that month or whatever when you were figuring out your expenses. So handwriting, any thoughts?
I absolutely think that it's amazing to handwrite it. I had a notebook and it was sitting on the counter, and the first day of every month was a new page. And the first day of the month, you're like, oh, here's my mortgage payment. Here's my electric bill. And then you start watching that list grow and it's in front of your face. Mm-hmm. The only downside to the Google form is that I don't really see the spreadsheet unless I go into the computer and look at it. Whereas the notebook sitting there, right where I put my keys down, even if I haven't spent anything that day, I can still see that big list of expenses that I have, of money that I have spent. And, you get towards the end of the month and you're like, ooh, there's that running total. I'm at, $1,800 and I really want to keep it under $2,400. And, can I do that? I think it's more powerful to do it handwriting, but not everybody wants to undertake that. So I would say that if you're thinking about tracking your spending, you absolutely should. And you should do it in the way that's the easiest for you. But if writing it down is at all possible, do that to look at it every single day.
All right. That was Mindy Jensen. That interview is coming out next week. And a couple people mentioned, hey, really enjoy the long form interviews, which is great. And we're going to wrap it up here at the top of the hour. Got some other stuff going on today. And Lipstick asked a couple questions. So I'm going to dive into, there are less questions and more statements, and you need reassurance, apparently. And I was chatting with one of my VAs, my assistant, my executive assistant, just yesterday. I'm no cheerleader. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm barely a teacher. Barely a teacher. I am creating content, and I'm selling some shit every now and then. There's a lot of content out there. I know some people actually, I won't mention people specifically, but I have some students out there in the chat. There's some folks that just check out my free content. They're able to do really well in general, make good money, full-time income, stuff like that. And then I'm not a motivational kind of person. I kind of just mind my own business, and I'm not a cheerleader. So I can't give very good reassurance. Now, Lipstick is saying, hey, I'm indexed in the Search Console. When am I going to rank? Why can't I rank? Am I doing stuff right? And the answer is I can't really tell you. you could be making some catastrophic mistake. Probably not. You're probably making a couple small ones or no mistakes at all. And Lipstick and Fashion Land asked me, hey, can you just analyze one blog post for me? The answer is no. So if you want to hire me, that's great. There's a link in the description. You could hire me. I will do a little more cheerleading. I can motivate you a little bit more. I will audit your site. I'll tell you where you've messed up. I'll tell you how to tweak things, potentially things that'll make a huge difference right away once you make the change. But I tried to, let's say I said yes. I tried to give some advice and I was like, hey, do X, Y, and Z. And the problem with free advice is people don't listen to me. So it ends up just wasting my time. Now, at this point, I have at least 5 or 6 people per week, maybe more, that, hey, can you just do this thing for me? Can you just tell me what to do? And, I can't pay you though. And I don't want to waste my time anymore. I value my time. I don't want to sit in front of the laptop. I'm going to go do some other stuff, which I'll tell you about in a second. But that's why I don't analyze sites for free. I know actually Alex Cooper, WP Eagle, good friend of mine, he does live streams. I know at least at one point in time recently, he will look at your site. He'll let you put in your URL. He'll go talk about it. Other people will talk about it too. Very popular. People like that. From where I sit, it does you a disservice because then a bunch of people are going to copy your site. Again, I've had some bad experiences with copycats and negative SEO. So I don't want to out anyone's site if they don't realize that they're doing themselves a disservice. So anyway, I don't give free advice in a specific way. Like I won't analyze your site for free because 90% of the time people ignore what I say. And the reason why I know is they would contact me later and they're like, hey, can you help me again? And I will ask them what happened when you made the changes that I recommended before. And they said, well, I didn't do that. I heard someone else say that I should do X. So I didn't do what you suggested, Doug. So that's why you can hire me. Because at that point, if you don't do what I suggest, that's your own decision. And at least there was a transaction made. All right. So that's why I don't give free advice, because people don't listen to free advice. All right. So we got a couple other things going on that I'll mention. So a lot of people know that I like to drink beer. I'm a home brewer, so I make my own beer. I have a kegerator in the other room. If you peruse the videos, you'll probably see a few videos where I am getting beer out of there, some cool stuff like that. And I'm a beer judge too. I'm actually a fairly highly rated beer judge. So there's different ranks. There's a program called the BJCP, and here's a little manual. It's the beer judge certification program here, and that ring light is giving some wicked glare. But basically, you can totally nerd out on beer. All right, you can totally nerd out on beer. There's all these style guidelines. It's about 100 pages or so. Very dense reading. I'm living in the land of just breweries and home brewers and tons of beer. All right. So there's a homebrew contest. There's a lot of homebrew contests in this area that I live in now. When I lived in Montana, there were hardly any homebrew competitions because there were very few judges. Here, there's tons of them. So I'm going to be judging beer all this weekend. Many, many hours. I'm probably at least going to have 40 different beers if I just had to estimate. So I'm judging in 4 different sessions, 1 this evening and then 3 tomorrow. And the funny part, it's funny when I explain it out loud and talk to people who are not beer judges. Basically, it starts in the morning, right? So tomorrow morning, I'll probably show up at 8:30, have a little, little breakfast, a little snack, chat with some of the other judges and some people helping out. And then we start drinking beer at 9. Now, we're not drinking a ton of beer. We're not drinking it to get drunk or anything. We literally get these score sheets and write out all these details. Here's my name tag here. You'll see it was from way back when I lived in Atlanta. So I'll wear this little name tag, and then we talk about and drink beer all day long. Get some lunch, take a little break. There's a whole ceremony. So it's pretty fun, and it's just people who enjoy beer, drinking beer, and then talking about it and giving feedback to people that want to improve their beer drinking, improve their beer drinking, but their tasting. And the main thing is we get feedback back to the brewers so they can make better beer. And Mike says you're a brewer too, and you enjoy it, and you're living in southern BC. Oh yeah, they have a lot of good beers out there as well. So yeah, I'm going to be judging a bunch of beer, and like I said, it's really geeky, and I think it's a difficult skill because you have to taste the beer and then get the vocabulary right and give the feedback back to the brewer so they can hopefully make better beer. It's pretty fun overall. And I've been homebrewing for something like 12 years, and I started judging, I guess a couple years after I started brewing, something like that. It takes some time to take the test and do the homework and study. It's a difficult test. It's a very difficult test. So any other final questions before we wrap it up? I'm going to play a clip from another friend of mine, Emilia Gardner. Her channel's growing quite a bit. She's doing a lot of videos. She does some live streams. Her interview will be coming out in a few weeks. I can't remember exactly when, but I will play this clip for you so you can get to know Emilia a little bit. There's a link for her channel in the description as well. And in this little highlight reel, Emilia is going to be talking about link building versus not link building versus publishing content. I know it's an ongoing sort of discussion with different groups of people, whether they should focus on just building links, really trying to build that authority, or just continuously publishing content. So here's Emilia.
I think that I probably run the middle on that. I agree with you. I think that links are a powerful signal to all of the world out there that content should be in a particular place or not. I don't actively spend a lot of time hunting down links just because I feel like for this ad revenue situation where it's like a content push, like the more content you have out there, the more traffic you want to get. And for me, the return at this point, at least with this particular case study, is better spent putting out more content, because it could take a whole day. Sometimes you go and you try to hunt down a guest post and then, get the content written for them and then go back and forth on the edits and the rest. And I have tried this, like going out and, looking for sites in the same niche and then emailing them or filling out their Write For Us page, and then, just getting, hearing nothing back, right? They don't even respond to you, or they respond to you and say, we're not interested, or, you need to pay us a whole bunch of money. And I'm like, I could have cranked out 3 articles for this. And so I think when for me, as far as backlinking now, I'm thinking more about natural links rather than going out and buying them or finding them. So thinking of content that people would just want to link to, not necessarily long form content, but things that would be cool to link to. Like somebody would see it on Pinterest and say, hey, I would want to link to that. Like I think printables, for example, are something that are really underserved on a lot of websites that people don't even think of. They think of infographics, right? That somebody would want to put on their page, but printables, these resources that people could print out and hang up on their walls or use as like checklists, they seem like they would be useful in any niche. Like you had an outdoor site, you could do a printable checklist for packing for camping, packing for mountaineering, packing for whatever. And that's something that people would want to save. Like, oh, that's really interesting. I would like to come back to that. Or it would be, wanting to share that on my own website because I don't feel like creating it myself. Things that people, for kids, like if you have any sort of website that involves children or families, like things that you can print out for kids to do, things that have the lines that people could fold up, things that you could color, things that you could post on the wall. Like those are simple things that you wouldn't necessarily have to buy, like have somebody create. Like you could go on Canva and use their fonts, right? The block fonts, and create things that kids could color, or you could draw them. Like if you have any sort of skill whatsoever. Like the parents, I'm a parent, right? So this is something that I'm constantly already hunting for myself, like things that just are neat for the kids to color in, that maybe are unusual, that are science-based, that are just you're not going to find anywhere else, and it doesn't take a lot of money. So I think, okay, I could spend $500 on a DA, domain authority of a bajillion, right? Or I could probably spend a couple dollars, on Fiverr, outsource that, or even sit and just do it myself and create 20 of these, and then maybe get links from some of these really high authority blogs that could use them. So am I actively going out and buying links? I'm not, because I don't want to spend a whole lot of big money on my site until it is earning, right? Maybe once let's say I'm pulling in 50 grand a month, like, sure, I'll go and spend money and outsource on the rest. But for now, I'm super conservative on spending money. I saw your interview with Ron Stefanski about his blog that he created kind of on the same timeline that I did. And he said that he had dropped, $15,000 on it. And I think my jaw almost like fell off, right? Because we're not actually that far away from the number of page views or whatever. I think mine is like 600 and some a month, and he's at 800 page views a month. And you guys talk about time and money, like exchanging time for money. You have one or the other, whatever. I've invested my time. He's invested his money. But I was like, man, 15 grand. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. All right. That was Emilia, and go check out her channel too. She does a lot of different stuff. She's been publishing content on an AdSense sort of case study, or at least a display ad website case study. A lot of good information over there. So I expect her channel to grow a lot in the next, in the future. All right, we got some questions that bounced in here, and there must be more of a delay going on than what I expect, because the questions they popped in. So I'm going to hit them kind of fast here so I can go out. It's going to be like 70 degrees today. It's so sunny. You can't see. It's so bright out the window, but it's amazing out there. So I'm going to go outside. All right, several questions here. We got Eddie. How do you differentiate between different sites when using Amazon One Link on secondary regions? I typically do not, but I think you could do that in some fashion, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. All right, Sue is on. She joined late, but glad to have you. And by the way, I'm going to give another, I don't ask people to subscribe in the live streams too often. I assume that you're already subscribed and you got some notification or something, but maybe not. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. If you think someone may find these videos useful, send them a link to the video. Tell them to subscribe. I'm trying to get more subscribers. That's a thing, just a vanity metric, because I think a lot of people actually, maybe they're not subscribed, but they watch a lot of videos and they're just, related videos. They're suggested all the time. So, but if you can spread the word, tell them to check out the podcast too. I have a podcast, a lot of similar content, but even the interviews are slightly different. I do different intros, different outros, usually talk. And if you have questions and you leave a voicemail, call in and leave a voicemail, by the way. It's Doug Show, the Doug Show, Doug.show. You can leave a voicemail. I play it on the air. All right. So if you ask a question, even if it's a sort of a more basic one or something that I kind of was an asshole answering here and not very thorough, I could do a whole episode on the podcast, and I love to do it. But in this format, chat is it's a little wonky. All right. It's a little wonky out there. All right. I'm going to hit these questions here. Thanks, folks. It looks like we got some more people on here, which is cool. So Chunky Moose is having trouble with his site being indexed or her site being indexed. There's no telling if it's a Chunky Moose. Oh, did you guys hear that? Georgie's dreaming. She's sitting under my feet. She's dreaming. Man. Whoa. Do you hear that? Oh, man, she's dreaming. Okay. So basically, I don't know. Chunky Moose, if your site's brand new, just keep publishing content, keep doing your thing. A lot of times in the sandbox period, you maybe won't have like all your pages indexed. They'll show up, they'll go away. Don't worry about it. Just do your thing. Edward asks, I bought a domain 6 months ago. You let it age and you only started writing content a month ago. Will it leave the sandbox from purchase date or start of writing content? Most likely it'll be from the start of writing content, but you let me know. Cash Shift says, am I in favor of using Amazon OneLink? Yep, either use OneLink or Genius Link or some other solution. Whatever the solution is, probably doesn't matter. Alex says, you have one question that you want to ask. Why do I give away so much value like the KGR without charging anything for it? That is a good question. I wanted to teach people to help like build the platform. So I talked about useful stuff and I tried to be helpful so that hopefully you will listen to me and I can build an email list and have a community of people, and it's worked out really well. Sometimes I'll be honest with you, Alex, as well, with all of you. Sometimes, depending on, the people that I bump into, I think, hey, I should have just kept my mouth shut, done my thing, built sites, sold them, make some money, make some money, and then just go away. Because I don't like dealing with hassle. And some people are just kind of, they're sort of not very grateful, and they kind of treat me, they treat me poorly. And I don't understand when people complain about free stuff, So sometimes I do think, hey, I care about the people that I know, right? I care about the fine people. I see Linus is on here. The students, if anyone has ever worked with me personally, I'm pretty generous, I would say. But if I don't know you and you kind of act like a dick to me, I don't give a fuck about you. So that's kind of my stance, and it's a little bit harsh. And if I'm just like normal in the real world or whatever, I'm pretty nice and friendly and all that stuff. Kind of mind my own business. But yeah, if anonymous person is a dick to me, then I'm like, go fuck yourself. I really don't care. So yeah, the people that are actually using it, it's fantastic. It's great. So it's, I learned from people that were generous and taught me stuff. And I kind of wanted to follow in those footsteps as well. But it doesn't mean that, and I think maybe I'm a little bit more real and candid than some of the other folks, because I know other people get a little more, I know people get frustrated as well in a lot of the ways that I mentioned just now, but they may have more like a family person, or a persona that is more family oriented, so they can't speak freely. And they may have a lot of sponsors and they also can't speak freely. I don't have many sponsors. I hardly run ads. So I can cuss and it doesn't matter because, it doesn't really matter. All right. And Alex says, you could have kept the knowledge to yourself, but I chose to share it. Yep. All right. And I'm going to just go through here. And let's see. Eddie. Okay. We got Satan Malik, some crazy person who is asking the same question twice. I don't love that. So I'm just going to ignore you. Oh, you asked it like 3 times. Come on, dude. All right, Tosh, what's going on? Sue enjoyed Georgie Dreaming, Linus says, have I had any experience with ranked math, or I just stuck with Yoast? So I left Yoast a little while ago because it's kind of bloated and I don't like what it was doing. Gives people bad advice. Oh, and rank math, I hear very good things about, and I haven't tested it. I was going to install it recently, but I just decided to wait, but I hear very good things about it. And some people did subscribe. That's cool. And let's see here. And Satum, you know what? I think I'm not sure what to do with you, buddy. I think I'm just going to block you from the channel, maybe. I don't know. Do you have a different question? I'll answer your question if you have a different one. All right, Chunky Moose, subscribe. Yeah, if people have not subscribed to the channel yet, I would really love it. And by the way, if you go to nichesiteproject.com, click on the green button, you can join the email list. I'll send you all my templates, a lot of helpful information. You join the email list. All right, Satum says, I'm just wanted to know for you only that why. Okay. You also said sorry. So I accept your apology. I think maybe you just got excited. Maybe you thought this was something different than what it actually is. All right. So the KGR is working fine. And you can check out at least 4 very recent case studies from like the last month. So check those out. All right. And Asim asks a question. Has anyone been doing crazy uploading and uploading 5 posts a day for a year? So I haven't personally, but you should check out the interview that I just published yesterday with Morton. He published 177 articles in 8 months. So I don't know what the math is there. It's not as many as what you're talking about, but I would say it's quite a few. And then my friend John Dykstra, several interviews on the channel. There are links in the description. You could check out some of his income reports. There's a link in the description for that. He publishes an insane amount of content. Insane amount of content. Mike says, you started your first site in October and it's mostly KGR. Traffic is growing fast every month and making more and more sales. Fantastic. Daniel, what's going on? You just heard about the productivity course on the podcast. I should mention it to the audience here. Daniel, thanks. Yeah, I have a productivity course. I don't mention it too often. It was more of a pet project because I'm interested in productivity. I did some, well, I would say interesting stuff. Some people would say I'm pretty productive. I feel like it's a struggle all the time. But yeah, I have a productivity course. And Daniel, do you happen to have a link? So this is how much I don't push it. I could try and sell it to you all the time, but yeah, if you look up productivity masterclass and it's under the 5-figure niche site course CMS, the content management system there, but basically you can enroll right away. So you should check it out. I know a few of my students have, been able to implement and do the things that they want to do. So thanks, Daniel, for mentioning that. And let's see. All right, we'll start wrapping up here. But I enjoy the ongoing chat and the extra questions and all that stuff. Okay. And Lipstick and Fashion mentions that Satim was just trying to get me to see his question. Well, you only got to write it once. That's the point. And he got here late, but he got here late, but you shouldn't have to repeat things to me. And I don't like it. All right. Okay. Alex says, I saw a video of some guys talking about niche sites, and they say the best strategy for creating review content is to buy and use the product. What do I think? Sure. Yeah. I mean, Alex, I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah. If you have the money and the budget to buy all that stuff, sure. If you have the time to buy all the product and use them all and review them and do that, yeah, it's great. But most people don't have the budget to do that. So if you're a bigger company or you have a big budget, then sure. But for most people, that is just not practical and not necessary. But if you would like to, sure. And yeah, I don't usually like commenting on what other people are saying because I don't know the original source. Asim says, you love the case study where I published 200 articles. Can I do more videos and case studies, which is more in the content side, as income is a lag metric? Good. Like that's a deep question. Yeah, you know what? I noticed, especially looking at my metrics and all the analytics, I understand people are very interested in that content, right? They want content on content. So I came up with several ideas. I will probably be doing more videos on that. And I didn't even mention this, but I taught an SEO class here to some entrepreneurs just the other day. They were asking so many questions on, like, what do we write? How do we figure out what to write? All the questions everyone was asking today. And sure, I can do more content on that. I know I will probably try to give it like a fresh look, a fresh, I guess, I don't know how to explain it. I want to have a new take on it. I've already talked about content and how to write content. I probably have tens of thousands of words, probably 20 hours of content talking about how to do content. But I know people want more and they want fresh stuff. So I'll probably like look into it. And you're 100% right, Asim. Like, it's a lag metric. And if people aren't familiar, I talk about it in the productivity course. So yeah, you could learn more about that. You got the leading metrics and lagging metrics. And you kind of, I mean, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And usually that is on the other side. So. Okay, so Daniel, I will find the link for the productivity course. And Tosh says, you were right a couple weeks ago when I asked about one of my KGRs growing in page views. You're ranking for several similar long tail keywords. Fantastic. And Edward says, maybe a new playlist on content. Yes. Yes, indeed. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for hopping on. If, again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend. If you haven't listened to the podcast, check it out. A lot of people check out both because I do completely different content. It's all generally about the same stuff. But basically, if you're interested in what we talked about today, you will probably like the podcast. All right. Well, thanks everyone. And we will catch you next week, most likely.